Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Charlotte and this is Charlotte's Shelves. In today's vlog we have a literary travels adventure to visit the beautiful city of Oxford. I wanted to share a gorgeous rare books exhibition with you, a little bit of the city and a visit to the most incredible bookshop. It holds the Guinness Book of Records achievement for the largest single room that is a book selling space, and we are going to explore, learn, do a tiny bit of shopping, and I'll share a little haul with you at the end of this video with some of the literary treasures I found whilst in the city. Please do like, comment and subscribe, and I really hope you enjoy the video. So here we are, this is the Bodleian, and the exhibition is being held across the road in the Western Library, and this is the treasure exhibition, or treasured. It was a drizzly but gorgeously bright day, and I had actually dressed sensibly for once by taking my anorak with me on my daily adventures. Good morning, welcome to today's vlog. I am in Oxford today. I'm currently waiting inside the Western Library to go visit the Treasured exhibition, which is something I wanted to share with you. This is an exhibition that considers, makes a book or an item treasured as a concept, what imparts value, but also what I'm super excited to see is that they have used, I think, the wealth of the collections here in Oxford to sort of explore this concept, and it reminded me of an exhibition that the British Library had on for a number of years, which was called, I think it's just called Treasures, and that displayed the wealth of what the British Library had in its own archives and just showed you just some of the most incredible rare books and special collection items. And I believe Oxford kind of have an equivalent here today that we're going to see as part of the Bodleian libraries and other Scottish academic buildings that they have here, but I just wanted to share that with you, so let's go see this exhibition. The exhibit is described as inviting you to explore the meaning of value of some of the world's most remarkable books and manuscripts, and it asks what makes a treasure, whether it's age, rarity or beauty, and it's also quoted as asking, or saying rather, that it shines a light on the human stories behind books and manuscripts that have shaped our intellectual heritage and the hearts and minds of those who cherish them. So with that description in mind, I was really keen to see which books have been chosen and curated for this exhibition. So you will see there is a stunning mix of chosen items, and I'm going to chat about a couple of the ones that really stood out to me that I particularly loved. Otherwise this would be a very long video. Oh my goodness, look at those colours, aren't they exquisite? One piece I wasn't expecting to see is a gorgeous portrait of Mary Shelley, which I hadn't actually seen before. Most of the paintings of her are that very famous black dress, white pale skin, and this one looked so lifelike, and the curators wrote that it reminded people to look beyond the horror of her most famous work, which is Frankenstein, and to actually look at this painting and to consider the woman who had written it. So you can see that the room is quite dimly lit, and this is just for the preservation of the books and the texts and the manuscripts themselves. They also managed to fill this exhibition space with so many interesting different manuscripts and literary ephemera and books and things. I was very impressed by how much there was actually on display, and also this exhibition is free as well, which is incredible. I cannot imagine how much this would cost if it was on display in London, for example. So there is a real juxtaposition of material that you'll see on display. In a minute there's an image that I thought was very sweet. It's a manuscript of an early 1700s recipe for gingerbread, which I loved because it's one of the favourite cakes in my household that we love to make. And then that's followed up by a really delicate fragment that is showing a nearly 2,000-year-old letter that's preserved just in this really delicate fragment, and it just captures the minutiae of ordinary life. It's fascinating to see them. In this next clip you'll see that I'm watching a documentary film about a 2,000-year-old scroll which looks like a charred lump of coal almost, and this was from the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, and using modern imaging techniques the writing inside this scroll, which just looks like a lump, was discovered and found to be a lost work of a Hellenic philosopher. And this was fascinating to me because they also didn't have this technology when I was a trainee librarian, but also they are using 3D printing technologies to preserve and care for these sorts of items. This just wasn't around when I was a baby librarian, and I think this development in technology in the library and museum sector is fascinating. This is the Gutenberg Bible. This is notable for being one of the first major books that was created with typeface that was movable, which also kind of marked the advent of the printed word. It is staggering to me. This is from the 1450s. This is before William Caxton and the development of the printing press, I think. And I haven't seen it in person. I haven't seen one of these. So that was awesome. This is a juvenile Austen manuscript. We love to see it. And she has such clear handwriting. It's amazing. I believe these are some stories that she had copied out for a friend. These are a stinky miniature set of works belonging to Charles I, and the exhibition stated that kings often travelled with their own mini libraries, and this was his portable personal one. I thought that was fascinating and thought I would love that, and then I realised, Charlotte, you do have that. You have a Kindle, so you can take your own books with you. But how gorgeous is that little miniature set? There's also a very good condition first edition of Alice and some early examples of Carroll's photography. He was a really big pioneer of the early versions of this art form when it was in its infancy in the 19th century. And I've never seen, actually I have at the V&A, but it was really nice to see some of his photography again. I think it's lesser known that not only was he an incredible writer and mathematician, but also a photography artist. These are some pages that were removed and cut out from A. Shakespeare's first folio, and I think that's a heresy, but I'm glad that they're preserved and now cared for in the library, even if it's not an entire intact work. These are some manuscripts of Tolkien's, and this is the Father Christmas letters, and you can also buy a copy of this that looks really beautifully illustrated by Tolkien as a facsimile at the Bodleian shop. But this just shows the Christmas letters that he would write every year for his family, pretending to be Father Christmas and sort of updating what was happening with the elves and Father Christmas's life, really. And they were gorgeous. I didn't realise he illustrated them himself. So now I am coming out and I'm just going to pop and visit a gift shop. We cannot not stop in a little gift shop, especially when we come somewhere like here. If you'd like me to make another Oxford video where I come back and talk more about the libraries and things in a bit more depth, or their collections and history, I can absolutely do that at some point in the future. I just didn't want to try and straddle too many things in this one particular video. I just wanted to share a little snapshot of the exhibition and a little bit of the city, and I hope that's enough just to give you a flavour of Oxford, really. It's so beautiful. This Christmassy type merchandise was really scratching lots of itches. These cards are gorgeous. I was restrained, but they're lovely, aren't they? That exhibition was incredible. I was a bit nervous talking to you previously because I don't really talk on my camera in public, as you've probably seen. I'm just about to go back to, this is part of the Bodleian. I'm going to go look at there's another little gift shop with some bookish gifts, because I'm trying to do a bit of early Christmas shopping because I have some book lovers in my family. The next step we're going to go to is Blackwell's, which is one of the largest book selling spaces in all of England. It used to hold the Guinness World title, something like that. There's also another architectural little feature down the road that I want to show you. And we're going to do some more book shopping, I think, for the rest of the day. I need to get some breakfast because I'm starving and I'm also in need of caffeine. So book shop, coffee. So I then spent a bit of the morning just walking around this particular area. It's beautiful, and this little gift shop on the corner I stopped into because I was looking for a particular set of stationery and bookmarks for one of my friends. You can see we are not going to let the rain stop us. We're not going to let it ruin our day. If you do ever get the opportunity to visit Oxford, they do 3 or 4 different types of walking tour that you can do, where you can either see the Bodleian or you can visit the other sister libraries, but you can also have a tour of the Radcliffe Camera, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. And it's definitely worth signing on for. It was one of the first places I sort of came on a librarian type trip. When I was an undergraduate student, my head librarian for the museum and library that I was interning at said, you have to come to Oxford and see the Bodleian and see their collections and things like that. She had trained there before she moved to where I was working, and she took me on this really gorgeous book geeky day out where she just gave me a flavour of what it would be like to be a librarian potentially somewhere other than the collections that we worked on, and it was a really good little field trip, and it stuck with me forever basically. So I would highly encourage, even if you're not a particularly bookish person, the architecture is sublime. You will not see anything else like it, so it's always worth doing. So that is the Radcliffe camera, and it is a really big landmark, and this is the sort of central Bodleian library complex. Students can actually study in there. It looks beautiful. I've seen some videos of the inside of it and toured it once, but it is incredible that if you come to Oxford, you can just research and study there. It's sublime. We're going to have a quick little bit of breakfast at this place opposite, as you can see, and normally they recommend having coffee and things on the terrace here because the view in that whole courtyard is stunning. When it's summer or spring and it's really bright and beautiful, really lovely. But we are indoors, and it's more like kind of like an underground crypt almost. Is it cloister's the correct word? I can't remember the name, but I had a really good coffee and a sort of roasted veggie rare bit whilst I was here. So after a quick refuel, we stopped to see the Bridge of Sighs. You have to when you're in Oxford. It's actually known as the Hertford Bridge, and it links two adjoining colleges across the new College Lane. I'll show you in a sec. And it's just beautiful, and it's been used in, I think, the Harry Potter movies and it's been featured cinematically a number of times, but it's just gorgeous to see, and it's so unique. I love it. It's so pretty. And then we wanted to walk onward to Blackwell's, which is my favourite bookshop in the world. Going into Blackwell's never gets old. When you go down to the Norrington room, which is the room that won the Guinness World Records for largest book selling space, every time you go in there, it just brings like a little bit of giddiness and joy to me. There's something very magical about this book selling space. This whole shop has, I think, 4 or 5 floors anyway, but then this giant, almost subterranean type space, which we're going to see in a second, and they have so many gorgeous books. It's such a temptation for people like me. They also have so many little nooks and pockets and sort of alcoves where you can sit and read and study. Like all of this along here is kind of desk space, and it's wonderful. I'm trying to show you it from some different angles so you can try and get a sense and scope of how vast this space is. I'll show you a clip where I kind of pan around in a second, and it's just glorious, and you can spend a day here easily. I was probably in here 2 hours, and I'm also just showing you some books that I was contemplating purchasing, but I didn't. Like I said, I was being very restrained today. So I hope these clips are giving you an idea of the scope of this place. I think it's set over 5 floors, and it has a little coffee shop right in the middle, and there are plenty of spots, like I've said, that you can perch and read and have a little browse before you decide to purchase items. I was feeling a bit overstimulated by this point, so my hair is up, my noise cancelling headphones are on with some white noise, and I'm just having a quiet little shop while I look around the store. I had such a fun stop in Blackwell's, and I always make sure I go. If I go to Oxford, it's whatever I'm there for and that exhibition. Oh, these clips are just showing you some of the diversity in the city centre for the buildings and the architecture. It's incredible. I also stopped at my favourite, well, maybe my second favourite tea company, Bird and Blend. And then I also made sure to stop in Scriptum, which is a largely Italian stationery company, but also I think they have some European products in there as well. And they are full of knickknacks and curios and all these fascinating little trinkets and eccentric goodies, not just paper goods. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Try and go not in the summer holidays or when it's busy, because it's quite a narrow little shop. And I get flustered very quickly and overstimulated in here. But you can see the shelves are packed, and it's lovely to have time to look through everything and make your purchases and just have a really good browse. It is fabulously maximalist. Like every single shelf, nook, cranny, there is so much to look at. Good afternoon. We are back from Oxford. My journey home was a bit of a faff, so I did not feel like filming that for you. But I did want to quickly share with you something that is not faff and not stressful. I got myself a couple of bookish themed gifts and items and sort of literary treats for myself today, and I just wanted to share a very mini haul with you, if you don't mind. First thing I picked up was some Christmas cards. It is now November by the time you're probably watching this, and the Bodleian do gorgeous library themed Christmas cards, and they're also on really nice paper. Is that gonna focus? But they just have a collection of Christmassy type books that they've curated with different sort of Christmas titles, and they're lovely. And I got 2 packs of these, and I think they're all books from the Bodleian themselves, and I thought that was really sweet. And those can be the cards that I sent out this year. And also, the Oxford Libraries normally do a range of merchandise that just says "Silence Please" because they're libraries, and they didn't have hardly any of it when I went to both the Western Libraries gift shop and the Bodleian, the actual Quads gift shop. I don't know why. They normally do a range of items that are white background with simple black text, and they just say "Silence Please." And I wanted to get the bookmark of this, and I think they had a notebook as well that I've seen online, and they didn't have those. And my friend had also asked for a bookmark, so if she's watching this, sorry, I got you a postcard instead to substitute as a bookmark. They also did these on a porcelain or china mug that looked quite chic, but I don't need another mug. That's what I'm gonna keep telling myself. I did get one library themed bookmark from them, however, which is called the Bodleian Reader's Oath. Is that good? And it says, on seeking permission to the Bodleian Libraries, every reader is required to repeat aloud this traditional declaration. And that is what users of the library would have to say. Then I went to Blackwell's to look at books, and I cannot tell you, I had 3 or 4 in my arms as I was walking around, and then I had to be strict with myself and say, the state that your current TBR is in, you have no business shopping for this many books. So I only bought 1 book. I don't even know how long I spent in there. It's just the most incredible shop space for books, but it is, I came here with Catabasis, which I think is how you pronounce it. I saw an interview of Ara Kwame this week where someone had asked her about the correct pronunciation, and she said she didn't mind either way how people chose to pronounce it as such. But this edition is a sort of special hardback, and I love the gold on that. Like, isn't that beautiful? And then on the back it says, Alice Law, you naughty girl, you're trying to go to hell. And this was sold to me by some other booktubers as being very dark academia vibes. It's again set in an academic setting, that it's also meant to be a sort of, I believe there's a love story element to it which piqued my interest, but it's also got a lot of literary references and allusions. I have seen some people compare it to Dante's Inferno, but I cannot confirm if that is true or not. I don't know if just because there's aspects of characters going to hell does not mean it's like Dante at all. I appreciate that could be a very thin comparison. I've heard that this is quite a good mix of dark fantasy and then the literary references, like speculative kind of literary fiction. I'm not too sure. If you've read this, do let me know if you enjoyed it and what your thoughts were, but spoiler free please. And this is one I think, especially in the colder months throughout November and December, or maybe into January, this is gonna be a nice one to cozy up with. It's quite long as well. I picked up some cards in Blackwell's. This I just thought was really chic. It's on really nice thick paper. Is that gonna focus? And it's kind of raised and ridged, and it reminded me of Jack Skellington's bow from Nightmare Before Christmas, but it also gave me a little bit of like Beetlejuice vibes, but I thought that would just make a really cute print. And then the next card I got, I also was thinking of using it as a print, and it says this. I can't tell from my screen up top how well this is focusing, because I've been having lens issues with my camera lately, as you can tell from some of my recent videos, but it says, I love my dog and maybe 3 people. And then one more card. I don't know who I would give it to because it's the perfect card for me, and it's got Shakespeare on it, and it's gorgeous. It's black and gold and kind of embossed, and it says, alas, thou art another year older, but thee haven't aged a day. I think that's fabulous. I then stopped in store to Bird and Blend, and I cannot tell you how restrained I was being in the actual physical store, because there is not a shop for Bird and Blend near me anywhere, and physically being able to go into store to actually see one in the flesh was incredible. I I picked up a box of Christmas teas and I just felt like it was a bit too early to be drinking Christmas tea, and then I put them down, and then I picked up a box of, they do a sort of chocolate hybrid tea selection thing, and I put that down, and I just came away with one box of tea, which is the chocolate digestive black tea. It's very yummy, it's very malty. It says it's a velvety smooth caramel and chocolate delight, one of our best selling blends, and what's more, it's vegan friendly. So this has got Sri Lankan black tea, cocoa nibs, fenugreek, cocoa shells, licorice root, and some natural flavourings. But this flavour is incredible, and it's not sweet. Like, you might think if it's a chocolate-esque tea, it's sweet. It's not, it's more like a certain richness and depth that it gives to it. Another shop I visited, I can't remember which one this was, but I got a bookmark for my mum. I call her Moomin or Mima, but normally Moomin, and this was a really sweet little Moomin bookmark. I don't know if you can see. Then I went to Scriptum, which is it's like a world famous kind of stationery shop, and it's gorgeous. It's tiny though. I was really glad when I went that it was probably the most quiet I've ever seen it. But I did pick up an alternative bookmark for my friend, and also another one for myself. This has the Radcliffe camera on it. And then I loved that design so much. I thought it was so beautiful, like really classic book illustration, that I also saw they did a card with it on, and I thought that would also make a gorgeous print. I'd love to do a print mural in our living room one day, which is why I collect little pieces like this. And it's also done in the same style with the black and gold like embossing or detail. I did get one small notebook, but it is not for me. I picked this up for my mother-in-law, and this is another one it's not leather bound, this one, but it is Italian paper, and it's gorgeous. And I'm really drawn to things that have gold on them, like a little magpie. I don't know if that's showing up because the light is going. That was my haul. Thank you for watching my little trip to Oxford today. I hope you enjoyed just seeing that little exhibition together and spending some time in Oxford. It's one of my favourite places on the planet, and it's so beautiful. If you ever come to England, get out of London. Oxford's probably about an hour and a half on the train, if that, and spend a couple of days there. You could spend a full week there and still have things to do. It's got glorious exhibitions and museums and libraries, and it's stunning. Thank you again for watching my video. I will catch up with you again soon, and happy reading.